welcome back to Mountain Gym Card Collectibles. Hope you had a great weekend. So today I noticed a post on X that really seemed to be twisting the true narrative about how card collecting works these days. Because the way that card collecting works these days is if you want a nice card, you have to buy into a break at a breaking company. And I know there's a lot of channels out there that will not tell you that. They will continue to gaslight you so that, you pretend that you're something you're not. A lot of YouTube channels act like collectors have an opportunity in this market. But I'd argue that they really don't. And the reason why is because breakers always come first, all right? And I know that Topps and Fanatics Collect likes to twist that narrative so that others believe that collectors have a chance. And Topps Fanatics is always trying to give us a different narrative than what's actually happening in this market, all right? Now, I'll explain to you again. How do you get awesome cards in this market? Well, you have to be kind of wealthy and you have to be able to buy into sports card breaks, okay? And if you're not a breaking company and you're not buying the sports card breaks, well, then you have to go out and spend your hard-earned money on overpriced, price gouged boxes of cards that typically have low QC, all right? I'm just not impressed with Topps Fanatics at all. So like it says here, crazy discovery. Now, think about the way that they are wording this, because it's really important to understand the gaslighting that's going on in this post. This electrician found a card worth $100,000 in a $4 pack. Okay, so that is definitely dedicated towards collectors, okay? And not just collectors, but, all these people who are speculating on hitting big cards and turning around and selling them and becoming rich, okay? Because that's really what sports cards have turned into. And then it goes on to say, Aaron Morgan, an electrician from Melbourne, Australia, fell asleep during a late night card break. Think about that, late night card break, okay? Which means he was involved in a break. He bought into a break. And woke up to discover he'd hit a one-of-one Lamine Yamal card, okay? Kind of like the Tooth Fairy is how, Fanatics Collects wants you to think. Yeah, he just spent $4 and hit a $100,000 card, yeah. But that's all bullshit. He later put it up for auction where it sold for $103,000. Okay, so you have to dig into these stories from Fanatics Collect on X because they're just gaslighting people to no end, First of all, this guy didn't just spend $4 on a pack, all right, and hit a $100,000 card, all right, a rare one of one. I'm honestly surprised that this card went for what it went for. And the reason why is, well, there's no autograph on it. So I just think that whoever purchased it's a fool to begin with anyway. That's just my take on it, Hey, if you want to piss all your money away on a sports card, we're all here for you, aren't we? We'll give you a pat on the back while you piss your life down the drain. So anyway, you have to look at the other story in this, okay? Now, this is a Fanatics Collect post, okay? Now, let's see how they worded it. This electrician found a trading card worth $100,000 in a $4 pack. From what I heard, it was from a blast or something like that, Aaron Morgan, an electrician from Australia, joined a late-night card break but fell asleep before it wrapped up. While he slept, the breaker pulled an ultra-rare Lamine Yamal card. By the time he woke up, his phone was flooded with messages from friends in the hobby. He couldn't believe what he'd hit. The card was sent off for grading and came back a PSA 10. He then sent it to auction where it sold for $103,000. When asked what he plans to do with the money, the collector said, I'll probably be buying more cards. Yeah, in card breaks, because that's the only way you can do it nowadays is getting the card breaks. That's why a lot of people are pulling out of this hobby and rolling into TCG. I know sports card people hate it when that's said, but it's true. It says right here, watch this break live. Was Alv Blaster crazy? What does this profession have to do with pulling this card? Yeah, because it's about gaslighting. Oh yeah, just average people have an opportunity to hit big cards. Yeah, right. Average people who have a lot of money who can afford breaks. The stupid prices on cards these days, I'd rather have a Mickey Mouse card that has earned its price. Yeah, I mean, I would too. I mean, all the speculative bullshit, I mean, it just leaves so many people in the dust, when it's all said and done. Switching up advertising, trying to make it sound like breaker trash didn't open something isn't going to work. Breakers are cancers, and turning the hobby into a lottery or a casino with breakers as the house is pathetic. Yes, exactly. So people just aren't buying into these stories from Fanatics Collect like they used to. They're just kind of going, yeah, it's just more BS for the masses. The big overlords at Tots Fanatics will continue to get rich off of the pain of most people in this industry, who buy into it. And that's really the goal here is all the pain. There isn't a lot of success in this hobby now, is there? There's a lot of pain in this hobby when people lose, and the losses are always mounting up endlessly. So let's get into the comments on this one, on X. We went over the Fanatics Collect post. Why sell it? Yeah, that's a great question, because that's all it's about these days. These are just golden tickets, speculative golden tickets that no one really cares about at the end of the day. I'll say it again. Does anyone really care about Cooper Flag? All they care about is finding his card and selling it off as fast as they can for as much money as they can. Is there any true Cooper Flag collectors out there? Is there any true Lamine Yamal collectors out there? It's just all about the money, man. Guarantee he paid exponentially more than $4 for the Lamine Yamal spot in this break. Yeah, that's just it. And this is really the narrative that Fanatics Collect is pushing. And it almost feels like a fraudulent narrative. Now, I can't say it's fraud, but saying things differently than they really are, to me, just feels very scummy, to say the least. I would love to see a diagram of how this $103,000 gets spent and in what time period. I've got a feeling it won't last long. Yeah, if he's buying into breaks, he's going to need more money. I mean, if he graded it, he likely would have got a whole bunch more. The grading scam has overtaken the hobby. Well, he did grade it. They don't talk about that in these posts, man. They don't want you to think that way, And that's what I mean is you really have to call out the Fanatics Collect, BS that they're always trying to shill out, And you have to think, well, who's showing this out? Well, this is the corporation tied in the tops, man, Scummy as can be. No way Barco was $4 in a break. Yeah, they like to say it was a $4 pack, It was pulled out of a blaster. And maybe it was a $4 pack, but you can guarantee that he didn't pay $4 to get in that break. And this one's even calling that out. Ain't no such thing as a $4 pack with Fanatics Collect at the helm. Yeah, that's just it. I mean, it's breakers first, collectors last. You have to have tons and tons of money to get into the sports card hobby. If you don't, you may as well just hit the road, Jack. I mean, it's so true. So he walked into a store and bought a $4 pack? No, he was in a high dollar break. Come on, do better with a misleading title. Yeah, that's just it. Do better, Fanatics Collect. Quit being so, scummy and scammy, Wow, a Fanatics breaker hit a six-figure card. Imagine the odds. Yeah, everyone's starting to figure this out, man. It's hilarious. No, he didn't. That's the dream, yeah. They have to sell you the dream. They have to twist words. They have to, kind of hide the dirty, aspect of this whole thing. And what is it? It's right there. During a late night card break. Yeah. And they don't talk about how he had it graded and all this and that, This is just more hyping up of a market that only caters to breakers, okay? And everyone's starting to understand about sports cards these days, I know there's a lot of channels on YouTube. I won't point fingers that don't want you to believe that. They want you to go and buy the retail products. They want you to, keep watching their channel. But at the end of the day, those people who have those channels, they don't care about you either. They're getting paid from YouTube. That's why you see so many people ripping up, these boxes on YouTube constantly, because they're getting paid for the views. They don't care about, all the losses that they're getting in those boxes, So it's always nice to be able to see through the lies and bullshit of Fanatics Collect, isn't it? It's just a company who's trying to get as much money from the public as possible, and they will twist the narrative as far and as often as they can of what's really going on in this market. So how do you feel about this? Do you believe that Fanatics Collect could have done a better job in this post? A lot of other people saw it too. They're just twisting the reality of what sports card collecting really is. Do you believe this card was really worth that much? I mean, it didn't have an autograph on it, That's just it. I don't see the value there. I don't understand why anybody would even spend $103,000 on that card, Other than speculation. Eventually, I would just love to see all the speculators just hitting the road too, And just stick with your true collectors who really know the players more than the speculators. Speculators are just desperate people. I need money. I need to gamble to make money. I have seen this my whole life. I've seen people lose all their, livelihoods by going to the casinos night in and night out, believing that they're going to get rich at a casino, We see so much gambling in the USA today that, is that what capitalism is all about, is gambling? Because let me tell you what, if that's what capitalism is all about, is just gambling, what a load of garbage, you know what I mean? You're just ripping people off constantly, man. That's not a good version of capitalism. So I'm not impressed with that angle either. How everything is like gambling related these days, or giveaway related, or breaker related. Sports cards are totally breaker related. I mean, and Fanatics Collect tries to cover it up, but people can't purchase the stuff, on Topps direct to consumer, that's such a nightmare. And what I've heard is a lot of those bots that are on the Topps direct to consumer. Now, this is just a rumor, are bots from Topps Fanatics. This is just a rumor. Okay. I don't really know who runs those bots, but I have heard rumors that those are Topps Fanatics bots, So, how do you feel about the way that Topps Fanatics tries to game collectors and consumers when really you have to buy into breaks, with their favored Fanatics breakers? And I just think it's a load of trash. And I believe that in a few years, you're going to see fewer and fewer people loving sports cards like they currently are doing today. I've seen more and more people hit the road from sports cards after the pandemic for a lot of reasons, And breakers first, to me, is going to be the big kind of Titanic moment in sports cards. And I know that a lot of people will not admit it. They have their channels, they're making their money from their views, they're monetized, this and that. Hey, that's great, But eventually the gaslighting has to stop and reality sinks in. Anyway, I hope you have a great day. I'd like to thank my subscribers. You're the reasons I keep doing these episodes. I mean, I'm not monetized. I mean, no one seems to care about that. And if you're a viewer and you haven't subscribed, hey, it's 100% free, and maybe I could get monetized. Anyway, I hope you have a great day. I'm out of here. Bye.